And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. One of my favorite games that's ever been made is Cosmic Encounter. I've talked about this at great length in the past. I've reviewed the game, talked about why I love it. But last year I got a copy of the original version of this. This is the version that I first played. I remember I was around 13 years old when I first played Cosmic Encounter. This was the version that the designers essentially made their own publishing company called Eon Games, published this game. And I thought it might be interesting for you to see what the original version looked like. Now, keep in mind that a lot of things I'm going to say aren't going to make sense unless you know Cosmic Encounter. Because I'm just going to basically show you what's inside this game. But it's interesting to see how the game has changed from the beginning here till now. Let's go inside the box and see what's in it. So it's a little interesting taking a look at something that is only 1 year younger than myself. But you'll see this is very thin. The back of the box shows the game itself being played. But it's in pretty good condition here. I've not played this version. The planets themselves are all printed on a board. You have in the middle here, you have the void of the game, and around the outside, you just put each of these. And I believe maybe it's the first board game ever, I think, that was designed with expansions in mind, because as a hexagon, these four didn't fit around properly. You can see that they clearly left space for other ones here. So here we have the different aliens themselves. We're going to come back to them. You'll notice they're on sheets here where you actually had to, tear them off. This is a mark of games don't do this much anymore. Well, if they do, no one's going to buy them. They're also only printed on one side. And then you would take the alien and you would fold it like this. And then you'd put it out so everyone else could see the picture of the alien. On the backside, it told you what it did. So there's actually not a ton of aliens that come with this game. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 aliens compared to the new one from Fantasy Flight. Well, new-ish, I guess. And that one had 50 to start with. So here we have the rule book, which is just black and white, no pictures, just very simple. Here's how to play the game. If you look at the game, though, the game itself is only 3 pages of rules. You then have these strategy hints where they talk about how to do various things in the game. And then there is a bit of pictures here. These are the only pictures in the game of how to play. On the back, they talk about ordering the set. And like I said, here's the expansions. Can you imagine, though? The game here is 10. Each expansion is 4. Each expansion added 10 more aliens and added the 5th player and the 6th player. So some of my favorite aliens are in these initial ones here. And then to get it, you fill this out. Don't do this now. This doesn't exist anymore. You fill this out, and why I like Cosmic Encounter here at the bottom. So kind of low quality everything in the game, again, compared to today. This is all pretty much pristine. This is the warp cone. Here's the planets that you would put on your board. You'd put these on top of your planets along with your ship. Your ship was simply just colored dots. That's it. And this is kind of a hard thing. Again, this is something I would really rag on a thing. I remember playing this. Now, for some reason, my memory is telling me one of the early sets that I played had wooden discs instead of these. I really remember wooden discs. Maybe it was a second edition. I'm not sure. The cards themselves, there's no question as what these are. Attacks, and you can look at the number distribution. This is one of the cool things about the game. These force fields still in the game, motion control still in the game. Stellar gas is called ionic gas now, I think. The plague, still in the game. Mobius tubes, cosmic zaps. And originally they were called compromise, now they're called negotiate cards. And then we have 12s, 10s, 4, 8s, 6, 30 was the highest in the original set. And now there's a 40 that's the highest. But again, the distribution was almost the same. Card quality was okay, for the times. So what aliens came in this initial set? Well, we have the Mind, where you could see someone else's hand. You could look at someone else's hand before they went. We have the Oracle, which was one of the more powerful ones in the game. Oracle could look at the other person's card before they played it. The Philanthropist, which many people still consider to be a weak one, but you could give a card away. Chronos will let you replay the whole thing. Empath, if you play a compromise card, you change your opponents to a compromise. Virus, you can multiply. The Amoeba, you can move all your ships from one planet to another. The Trader, trade your hand with your opponent. The Vulture, you can salvage a card. The Laser, makes someone play blind. The Laser is the only one of the original ones that did not really go across as well. This is one that some people didn't like because you just don't get to make a choice. This is one of the few that did not make the transition to the newer sets as quickly. The rest of these are almost unchanged. The Clone, you can keep the challenge card that you play. The Void, where you permanently kill cards. The Mutant, always have a 7-card hand. Zombie, you never die. And the Macron, your ships are worth 4. And so I feel that that's pretty neat to see how these aliens, and you can see the artwork here, these aliens lasted now for 42 years. These aliens are still around. Anyhow, this is obviously a relic of its time. But what's interesting is that the game itself has survived, and the game itself thrives. Just this past week, I was at a convention, and people were playing Cosmic Encounter. And it's because of this game. When you open it up, it feels magical, and it still is neat to see this older version of the game. So this is the original one, Eon, and I just thought you guys would like to see what it looked like. There are a lot of games that when I see them from my childhood, they bring back waves of nostalgia. This box is one of those. There are many companies who have produced Cosmic Encounter. There are 3 major ones. The original one, Eon, then the Mayfair edition, and then the Avalon Hill. I guess the Avalon Hill one, I guess there's 4 because there's the Avalon Hill one and then the Fantasy Flight one. But then I know there was a small one from Games Workshop, and there's various things. But this one here, this original one when it came out, which was taken to publishers who didn't really want to publish it, so these guys published it on their own. And the guys who made this are still working and talking about it 40 years later, to the point where this year we got Cosmic Encounter Duel coming out. Like, it's fascinating on here. It's, again, the game says 2 to 4 players. Cosmic Encounter does not work with 2 players at all, in my opinion. And it's interesting just to see how long it's gone. And there's so many things. You don't understand how much this game has had an effect on the hobby as a whole. Magic the Gathering has its roots here. Expansions to games have their roots here. Special powers in games have their roots here. This game is extremely influential, and it holds up well. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the Fantasy Flight version that came out 2008 is the best version of the game. It plays really, really well, and it's streamlined. It had 30 years to work on it. But this original game, if this was the only copy and the only way I could play it, I would still have it, I would still keep it, I'd still play it. It looks dated for sure, but it's still an amazing game. I don't often keep games that I don't play, because I'd rather have games to play. This is one of the few I make an exception for, just because it means a lot to me, and it's just neat to own a piece of history. So that's the original version of Cosmic Encounter. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.